they send a redneck to Washington, they do not around.
Don't you love when they go and interview these people at a Trump rally? It's amusing. And of course, they have somebody with, hey, like, Trump, grab my and you look at it, ain't nobody in the world want to get within a mile of you. Don't worry. Nobody's going to grab that fucking. If they get through the fat wrinkle to get to it, I got to admit, it gives me, I shouldn't do it. It's not, I do, you should never do it. I actually feel superior to these people.
I should feel superior to these people. That was the comment in regard to Trump supporters from longtime Democratic operative James Carville as he was having a conversation with Bill Maher on Bill Maher's podcast titled Club Random. Now, the conversation was somewhat incoherent because while they, of course, clearly relentlessly mocked Trump supporters, they then went on to mock and criticize the so-called coastal elites. Let's take a look at that.
There is a certain coastal arrogance in this country, and people feel it. Right? Yes. They just do, and you can't tell me that it doesn't exist because I know that it does.
I feel it. I feel it all the time. Yes, there is. Yeah, it's a lot what we were just saying before about people have to be able to talk to each other even if you don't completely agree. The other person is not a deplorable. I get it. Like I would never.
Some of them are.
Of course they are. Some of them are. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. But
yeah, that's true. And some people on the left are deplorable. I'm sorry.
I find the left to be just annoying.
Exactly.
They're more than just not important. It's just annoying.
Exactly.
And the Western far left is habitually the most stupid, naive people you can imagine.
So that second clip, I think there are two differences in the groups that they're talking about, but they begin with the coastal elite, as they had previously engaged in some of the most elitist rhetoric I've heard in regard to Trump supporters, right? Attacking them for being dumb, mocking the way they look. And so it's just amazing to me how in the context of the same conversation, they can basically carry out the very actions that they are critical of in regard to coastal elites.
Yeah. So look, I love honest conversations and I like kidding around. So I feel bad criticizing when they're trying to be honest, but I also have to be honest and tell you what I think they said wrong there. And yeah, it looks like they didn't really make up their mind or have a principled position because on the one hand, you take regular people going to Trump's rally and you talk about how fat and unattractive they are. He said between the rolls and stuff. Okay. That's not how I would go after. And look, I'm not shy about going after Republican voters. You've seen me do it many times. I do it in my book, but I wouldn't go after them that way. So we all got glass houses, and then they say, oh, Trump can grab me by the P word, right? And he said, and Carville says I wouldn't want to. That's kind of what Trump says. Remember whenever he gets an allegation of sexual harassment, he says, look at him, who would want to anyway?
Yeah, he does say that, you're right.
You don't want to be like Trump, that's not a good look. And saying I feel superior. No, look, if there's a person, you just showed a clip and someone's saying something racist or sexist or something along those lines, it's very specific and obvious, right? And you say, yeah, of course I feel superior to that because that's a hateful opinion and it's not open-hearted and it's certainly ignorant, etc. Okay, that's definitely understandable. But if you just say it in general, that's a terrible look, right? But then you turn around and say the problem is the coastal elites. But brother, I don't know anything that more coastal elite than what you just said. So like make up your mind, which way are you going with this? And so, but it is true that both corporate Democrats and corporate Republicans and corporate media are definitely coastal elites. That's definitely true, and they have a massive bias there. I don't mind them talking about that. I wish they could talk about that with specific examples, but a lot of those guys are, let's be honest, friends with Carville and Bill Maher, so I don't really know who they're complaining about. So now finally, when he gets to the left, it depends, doesn't it? It depends on if he's talking about social or economic issues. So if he says, you know what, some portions of the left are annoying and naive, and you take, let's say, a position of, hey, everybody should be forced to say Latinx instead of Latino or Latina, right? Okay, I could see how that fits that description. And even if you don't agree that's annoying or wrong. It's not a crazy opinion to think that that's annoying or wrong.
Definitely
right?
not a crazy opinion.
So that's totally understandable, and they've got to be able to criticize their own side too. So again, open, honest conversation, no problem. But if you're talking about economic issues, and often those two think the same way about economic issues, no, brothers. The progressive left is exactly where the middle of the country is. 2/3 of Americans agree with us on everything, right? And so if you think that's stupid or naive, that's just you working for corporate America. So be a little bit clearer in your attacks. I don't mind, like I've now said 3 times, it's great that you're having an honest conversation, but you should figure out who you're actually trying to attack, and more importantly, come with receipts if you're criticizing in that fashion.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Look, I think the reason why the arguments made here seemed incoherent and like hypocritical is because of the fact that we have to acknowledge that in both political parties, there are gradations, right? So I think even among Trump supporters, right, about 30% of them in poll after poll support some of the worst things that he wanted to do, wants to do. They support him no matter what. They don't care about any potential criminality he engaged in. They just support him, they're loyalists to him, and they love everything that he espouses. But the rest of the Republican voting base, right, I think there are gradations. And so to just lump them all together as if every single one of those voters is exactly the same and they're all bad, I think would be a giant mistake. Same with the left. Think about the giant tent that the Democratic Party represents. There are so many different groups within the Democratic Party that I don't agree with on many issues. You get what I'm saying?
Of course.
And so when they were attacking the coastal elites, they at first started with the arrogance of the coastal elites, which I believe is true, and then they kind of moved on to leftists. And when they say, oh, I find them annoying, they're specifically talking about the scoldy nature and like the language policing. We think, I mean, that was my interpretation of what they were arguing about. But the point I'm trying to make is that within each political group, there are subgroups. And I don't think it's right to judge the entirety of that voter base based on one subgroup.
Yeah, and look, just generally saying you feel superior at large,
super gross,
is terrible. Like, and it's also not true. There's people might not know a lot about politics, but they might know a lot about some other things. They might be greatly skilled. What do you mean superior or how? What does that mean? So I would like to think that I know a lot more about politics maybe than the average bear and certainly the average Republican, but I'm being honest about that. But you put me on a camping trip and they're gonna laugh at their ass off at what an idiot I am. I go camping plenty of times, still can't barely set up a tent. So we're all good at different things, and you looking down your nose at people isn't gonna help at all. If you enjoyed this video, that's because of our members. They make us independent, they make us strong, and they make us honest. Become a member today by hitting the join button below.